instruction of Kaushik Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritta.
Narayanam Namaskritta.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasim.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Udiriyet. Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhakti Bhagavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji asked me to speak today about several topics, so I'll try to cover as much in the time we have allotted. I know I sit between you and Prashadam, so I'll try to be brief, but I'll also have maybe some question-answer time as well if you all have some things you'd like to discuss or maybe some discussion. Make it a little interactive. So he asked me to speak a little bit about Grahastha practicing a spiritual life, balancing work life, spiritual life, also raising kids in Krishna consciousness, and these different topics. So I thought to speak today about Prahlad Maharaj from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 6th chapter. I was debating which verse, but I think we'll read verse 4. And this is the chapter entitled Prahlad Instructs His Demoniac Schoolmates. So I'll give a little bit of context for this verse after reading the verse, and we'll discuss it in context of the topics Prabhuji asked to speak on, and then we can of course speak on anything else anyone else would like to discuss during some discussion time. So text number 4, just in the interest of time, I'll just read the verse and go through the purport and then have discussion. Tat prayaso na kartavyo yata ayurvaya param natata vidante shemam mukunda charanam bhujam. Translation: endeavors merely for sense gratification or material happiness, though through economic development, are not to be performed, for they result only in a loss of time and energy, with no actual profit. If one's endeavor are directed toward Krishna consciousness, one can surely attain the spiritual platform of self-realization. There is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. Purport: by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We see materialistic persons busily engaged in economic development all day and all night, trying to increase their material opulence. But even if we suppose that they get some benefit from such endeavors, that does not solve the real problem of their lives. Nor do they know what the real problem of life is. This is due to the lack of spiritual education. Especially in the present age, every man is in darkness, in the bodily conception of life, not knowing anything of the spirit and its needs. Not knowing anything of the spirit's soul and its needs. Misguided by the blind leaders of society, people consider the body to be everything, and they are engaged in trying to keep the body materially comfortable. Such a civilization is condemned because it does not lead humanity towards the real goal of life. People are simply wasting time and the valuable gift of the human form because of a human being who does not cultivate spiritual life but dies like the cats and dogs is degraded in his next life. From the human life, such a person is put into the cycle of continuous birth and death. Thus, one loses the true benefit of human life, which is to become Krishna conscious and solve one's life's problems. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Amtakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I'll just read the verse again. Endeavors merely for sense gratification or material happiness through economic development are not to be performed, for they result only in a loss of time and energy, with no actual profit. If one's endeavors are directed towards Krishna consciousness, one can surely attain the spiritual platform of self-realization. There is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. So this is Srila Prabhupada's purport is not gentle in any way. He is giving it to us unpolished, just as it is. But sometimes we need that. We need to hear this. So the context is, anybody knows who's speaking this verse? Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj is speaking this verse. He's an erudite scholar, experienced man of the worldly affairs, and is determined there is no need for economic development, there's no profit. And how old is he when he's speaking this verse? 5. He is 5. That's very important to understand. So he's speaking to his classmates. So this happens just after his father has inquired from him, what have you learned in school? And of course his father was the great demon Hiranyakashipu. And so his father was trying to train him in his line of work, in his business. And so Prahlad Maharaj was being trained by the teachers in such a way. And when Hiranyakashipu asked his Prahlad Maharaj, what did you learn? What is your best that you have learned from your school? What did he say? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Right? That these 9 processes of devotional service. This is the perfection of life. So to the ears of a demon, that is like, fighting words. So of course Hiranyakashipu could not tolerate such words from even his beloved son, who was just seated on his lap. And he pushed off of his lap onto the ground, off the throne, in anger. And then, enacted a reign of terror, trying to kill his son. And you can think how a father, no matter what a child says, could become so deranged that he would try to kill his own son. But he didn't. He tried, I should say. Was not successful at first. So, I'm kind of jumping around in the story a little bit. But Prahlad Maharaj goes back to his school, and his classmates are all 5 years old. And he begins to teach them that, now has come the time to take to spiritual practice. Conventional wisdom says, if I'm going to practice spiritual, it's like a retirement program. Right? Once I'm old, I have settled everything, then I can take to spiritual life. But actually that is the great fallacy of society. Why do we see such destruction of mental health in the world today? Mental health is at an all-time low. And what else is at an all-time low? God consciousness. We have stripped God consciousness out of society, in the thinking of, oh, this is real advancement. This is real economic development. And the result is very clear. So in this verse, we see that Prahlad Maharaj is making a very strong statement. Speaking to a capitalist like myself who's in business, saying economic development should not be performed. It is a loss of time and energy. There is no actual profit. That's a very strong statement. But we should understand the purpose of why Prahlad Maharaj is speaking. So let us understand, what is the goal of economic development? Why do we pursue economic development?
To be happy.
To be happy. To find some happiness. The idea being that if I can generate some wealth from manipulating the material energy, then I'll be able to acquire some happiness. And from then, that is the benefit of my hard endeavor. And through the history of time, either in our own life or observing others around us, have we found people finding this unlimited happiness through economic development? In fact, when we find success in economic development, we find that there's more stress, more anxiety, more fear. The greatest stress of a person who has made $1 million, what the greatest stress is?
You don't want to lose.
Losing it. They have fear of losing it. So much so that they wish they never had it. Because it becomes such a heavy burden on the mental platform. We dream, having millions of dollars would be amazing. But actually, then we live in fear of losing it. So the profit that we had hoped for in economic development is not there. And what is the flaw in that process? It is because the very beginning instruction that Krishna gives to Arjuna, that we must see things through what is good for the soul. If I look at what is good for the body, my whole life, forgetting the soul, Prabhupada gives us a very brilliant metaphor. That all of you came mostly, I think, maybe you walked, but in vehicles, right? So where are your cars? Outside? So if you spent your whole life just caring for the health of your car and forgetting about you, the driver, would you be considered very intelligent? Would you consider that a good use of your human intelligence, your degrees, your diplomas, your assets, your lineage would be proud of you, that I maintained my car very nicely? So Srila Prabhupada says that's what we are doing. Through bodily consciousness, I'm just focused on this body. This body is a vehicle. It is made up of dead matter. Why dead? We know when this soul leaves this body, what happens to this body? It just lays on the side of the street. If somebody loves me, maybe they'll take it and do some puja and burn it or do something. But in the end of the day, it is dead matter. Just like our car. Our car only has life when the driver is in it, moving it. So similarly, Prabhupada explains that all of our economic development, all of our material endeavors, the flaw in them is not the endeavor. The endeavor is okay. It is what is the purpose of the endeavor. That I am trying to advance my bodily comfort of life. And that is why Prahlad Maharaj very expertly is saying there's no actual profit, because the desired profit is happiness. But I cannot get happiness from the body, inasmuch as you cannot get happiness from the car. You can a little bit. My neighbors admire my car driving down the street. Maybe I look good in it. You get a little bit. But real, tangible, lasting happiness you cannot get. It has to come from us, from within. So the source of ananda, this happiness, is at the soul platform. Because the soul is Sat Chit Ananda. This ananda, though, it is only coming from spirit. So if we search for this happiness, this profit, by trying to manipulate matter, we'll fail in our attempts. Just as much as if I try to mix oil and water. Does it mix? I can get like a Vitamix, a super strong power mixer. Is it going to mix? No. They're incompatible. Similarly, this spirit soul, it is incompatible with the material world. It doesn't find its happiness. So this is the opportunity. And we have great evidence here. Let's look at the situation of Hiranyakashipu. How much economic development did he do? He had the entire universe under his control. Not one city, one country, even one planet. He had all 14 planetary systems containing millions of planets under his control. We cannot even control one household. But Hiranyakashipu had this type of power and control. Out of fear of him just raising his eyebrows, the rivers would produce jewels and gems just to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. This much economic development prowess he had. It is explained that the fields would produce crop without cultivation out of fear of the power of Hiranyakashipu. He was so strong. He had conquered the entire universe. Can anybody do any more economic development than that? That is the top, right? That is the maximum. Mathematically speaking, you cannot get any more economic development. And what was his profit? Was he happy? He could not tolerate a 5-year-old child speaking Shastra. He could have just ignored. I have other children. No problem. One has gone awry. Let me enjoy in all of my acquired. But he could not. So much so that he became agitated to such an extent that he tried to kill his son in so many different ways. It means, very simply, that the happiness, the satisfaction he was searching for, it was not met with all of his economic development, his progress in material world. And so we have tangible evidence around us in our own experience. We always convince ourselves, if I just get one more zero in my bank account, I'll be all set. Just one more. And what happens when that comes? Just one more. And just one more. And one more. And when does it end? Just ask Hiranyakashipu when it ends. It doesn't. It doesn't. So Prahlad Maharaj is explaining that don't fall into the trap that my father has fallen into. Because you are at a ripe young age. How old are these kids? And this is the time to start spiritual life. Why? Why is this the time? If we understand the meaning that Srila Vyasadeva says, Atato Brahma Jignasa. He says, in the very beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, the first sutra, the very first, after compiling all of the Vedas, he wanted to pull out the essence, the nectar, the key term. And in this, his first sutra is Atato Brahma Jignasa. He says, therefore, now that you have acquired this human form of life, you must inquire. Therefore is implying that we have worked very, very hard to acquire this human form of life. We take it for granted. But actually, we have traversed all 8.4 million species of life. And finally, we have come back to the human form of life. The other day, I was taking one spider out of my kitchen at my wife's request. And I told her the only difference between the spider and me is the misuse of our free will. It is in a spider body, I am in a human body, but once I was also in this body, and all of you and all of us. That's the reality. And Vyasadeva is saying, now that you have crossed all of that and come back to the human form, you must inquire, because you have an intelligence to find the path to real profit. So don't wait until you're elder in age and your hair has fallen out, your back is hurting, your eyes are blurring. I'm speaking about all my conditions. That is not the time to wait. When you are at a ripe young age, inquisitive, enthusiastic to learn the world, this is when one should take to spiritual life. So if we take our age, subtract by 5, and we said, okay, this many years I'm behind if I'm just starting now. But no problem. We can catch up like that. But we should understand that spiritual life means to take it at the ripe age. I was so happy to hear all the glories of this Calgary Vedic Academy. What an amazing endeavor to bring about this consciousness. Because in our schooling systems, what do they teach us? Shall I tell us in blunt terms what they teach us? How to sleep, how to eat, how to mate, and how to defend. That's it. They teach us these 4 things. Maybe they teach us how to sleep nicely, mate nicely, defend nicely, eat nicely, more than the animals. But at the end of the day, that is it. It is all about bodily consciousness. Srila Prabhupada was touring MIT, and they showed him the biology department, the mathematics department, the English department. And what did he say? Where is the soul department? I was just on a bike ride. I was listening to this lecture. That comment came. I've been quoting this for years because I'd read it. I had never heard it. And I just heard this recently. I was very happy to hear it. But he's asking, where is the soul department? Because if we're going to claim to be an institution of higher learning, do we want to just learn how to eat, sleep, mate, and defend? Where the profit is always very temporary. Sure, there is some profit, but it is very temporary and very limited. Instead, let us find what is the opportunity to create maximum profit. It is not a question of minimizing profit. We want to maximize profit. And we want it to last eternally. How to do that? That's real education. That's real knowledge. Prabhupada quotes over and over again in Bhagavad Gita. Complete knowledge, knowing spirit, matter, and the controller of both. If you know these 3 things, you have amassed complete knowledge of how to find unlimited profit in endeavor. So when it comes to ourselves, sometimes as parents, we become enthusiastic and proud for our children to become, expert scholars in mathematics, in science, in this. But if they're studying Bhagavad Gita, don't study too much. What is this? This is the fallacy in our consciousness. And we see the result of it. Because due to lack of profit, all we see is suffering. Because the endeavors are misplaced. So we have this great opportunity through these facilities to enact real profit. And Prahlad Maharaj, let us not fail to recognize. Prahlad Maharaj is preaching this way, right? So we may think, when he grew up, how much profit did he make? How much economic development did he do? Nothing? Did he stay in the forest as a renunciate? No. He became the ruler of the whole world. He was king. Prahlad Maharaj is a king. He did unlimited economic development. So the question is not whether to do economic development or not. The question is, for what purpose? His economic development was in the service of the Lord. He did not think he was ruling. All the great kings described in Srimad Bhagavatam, they were ruling as a service to society, who are all children of the Supreme Lord. So the devotee pursues economic development to the fullest. But they do it not to eat nicely, sleep nicely, mate nicely, and defend nicely, or to put one more Mercedes in the driveway, because that will have no profit. What they do to help as a service to the Lord. So spiritual life is not about abandoning our activities. It is about utilizing whatever capabilities we have in the truest form. This is the principle Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur preached exhaustively, this yukta vairagya, real renunciation. Real yukta vairagya means that one uses whatever facilities they have, whatever capabilities they have, they use it in the service of Krishna. But on the other hand, if I have some capability and I renounce it, some people say, "Oh, I don't touch money, that's Maya." No, renouncing that which can be used in the service of Krishna is actually falgu vairagya, false renunciation. So Krishna consciousness is not about abandoning the material nature. It is about utilizing it, because it is also Krishna's energy. He explains in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I have para and apara shakti. Both are my shakti. And both must be used in service to the source of that shakti, Krishna. So we come and we practice real Krishna consciousness, which means I don't go to the office necessarily in a dhoti kurta banging on a mridanga. That may get me fired. But whatever then I actually can produce and generate through my work, I use in the service of Krishna. To print more books, to spread this knowledge, to build temples. I understand you're also looking to construct a beautiful temple here. To distribute prasadam. To help save the world from this suffering. Because this mental health status that is there, it will not change. We can put more drugs into people. We can put more, psychologists and social work and more podcasts about, these great ideas. We see this, right? New Year's Eve. We start making all our plans, New Year's resolutions. I'm going to be less angry. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to talk to my mother more. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And by January 6th, 7th, 8th, what happens? But how to make these permanent changes? It is only through spiritual life. See the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. When he was being subjected to these immense atrocities, being thrown from mountains, trampled by elephants, dropped into a pit of snakes, put into fire, ice, so many different ways. What was his mood? He was fearful. He was angry at his father. No. He was fully poised. He had faith in Krishna. He said, if Krishna wants me to perish here, it'll happen. And if he doesn't, it won't. Simple as that. Mare Krishna Raki, right? If Krishna wants to harm me, I'm done. Doesn't matter. So he had great strength through these difficult times. How? With his faith in Krishna. Our strength often is pliable. We go through some rough patches in life. What happens? We become shaken. We become, really fragile. Why? Because our faith is in something fragile. Something temporary. This material world. But if our faith is in Krishna, who is infallible, who is unlimited, who is Suratam Sarva Bhutanam. He says in the end of the 5th chapter, I am your ever well-wisher. I am the benefactor of all living entities. If our faith is there, then no matter how tumultuous the circumstance, one can become fixed. But it doesn't mean that one becomes blind or out of touch with the reality. Prahlad Maharaj was very understood what was happening. And what kind of quality he had after Lord Nrsingadev came and killed Prahlad Maharaj. Lord Nrsingadev asks Prahlad Maharaj. Only Prahlad Maharaj could pacify him. His anger was so raging. For another whole topic, but it was raging. And Lord Brahma could not pacify, Lord Shiva could not pacify, nobody would go near except Prahlad Maharaj. Because the strength of his bhakti. And Nrsingadev was so pleased. He said, please ask some benediction from me. And Prahlad Maharaj said, I don't want any benediction. He said, no, ask some benediction. He said, I ask for the benediction that I'll never be tempted to ask for a benediction. This is intelligence. Why? Why somebody would ask like this? Because he knows that if I get tempted by some opulence in the material world, what will happen? I'll waste the form of human life. And as Prabhupada says, die living like a cat and dog, degraded, ready for the next life. To not risk that, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, don't tempt me. But Lord Nrsingadev persisted, no, you must ask me a benediction. So what he asked for? Forgive my father. Forgive my father. And Nrsingadev said, no. What? He says, because you have become my devotee. 21 generations have been liberated. Not just 21 generations past. Also, 21 generations in the future. Your whole lineage has been liberated. What kind of economic development can we do to free our entire lineage, past and future, from eternal suffering, from no more birth, death, old age, disease? What kind of economic development we can do for that? Nothing. But by our practice of bhakti, by this sincere pursuit of Krishna consciousness, we can give this gift to our lineage. So this is the power of devotional life. Today is the appearance day of Lord Mahamandir. So he appeared on the Dwadashi day in the month of Bhadra. So this evening we'll be discussing the appearance of Lord Vamandev. But we'll see this claim from Lord Nrsingadev manifest before our eyes when we discuss Bali Maharaj, who is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, who has an amazing transformation. We're going to discuss today the surrender of Bali Maharaj. It is spectacular when we analyze. Very spectacular surrender. And we'll also talk a little bit about the fallacy of material desires. Actually, Lord Vamandev came to prove to us that if we don't cease these material desires, we'll be setting ourselves up for eternal quest of something we'll never reach, and just constantly struggling. But if conversely, by taking to the wonderful practice of spiritual life, we can immediately attain this profit that we search for. And the beauty is, we don't have to wait so long. Krishna tells again in Bhagavad Gita, Daivi Heshaguna Mai Mama Maya Durataya. He says this divine energy of mine is very difficult to overcome. Very difficult to overcome. But Mamamevaye prabhadyante. If you surrender unto me, mayamitam tanantite, at once you can overcome. Not after some time, after much endeavor, but at once. So this surrender to Krishna is the greatest opportunity we have in this human form of life. And so let us take advantage of this opportunity and understand how to actually pursue economic development and find the real profit by following this instruction of 5-year-old Prahlad Maharaj. And we can continue to invest in our children the same in knowledge that will allow them to find the real happiness. Because at the end of the day, what do we want for our children? We want them to be full of stress and anxiety and fear. Oh, we just want them to be happy. We just want them to be happy. And now we know. We have also known before we came today. Nothing I've said has been new. It's just repetition of the same thing. But it takes, like if you have a stone and you have a hammer, if you hit it once, it doesn't break. You have to keep hitting it. Keep hitting it. And I might think nothing's happening, right? I say, chant the holy names of the Lord. Chant the holy name. I'm chanting, I tried this, but it's not working. There must be some problem with my beads. Can you give me new ones? It is working. This stone, you keep hammering. Cracks are happening on the inside. Fissures are happening. What is this stone? It is all of our anarthas, all the impurities that is covering the pure soul that is ready to shine bright. And if we keep hammering, keep hammering, keep hammering, soon that stone will shatter. And this Satchitananda will again re-emerge. We have covered it through our association with material nature. But by the chanting of the holy names, by the association of devotees, the honoring of prasadam, studying of Shastra, ABCDs, association books, chanting diet, that's it. One can enjoy Krishna consciousness and achieve perfection of it. Okay? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, comments? We have some time for some questions?
Yeah, Prabhuji, yeah.
Comments?
10 minutes.
Anything you can add, Prabhuji, Mataji? Any corrections?
So, Prabhuji, so how much time in a day you should spend your time in the spiritual activities? I think in general everyone wants to do spiritual work. Everybody, at least from people who are from India, they have some background. They go to temple. They do want to go to temple. Everything, and the everyday busy life of your work and your kids and everything that you have.
So, Arjuna in essence had the same question. So, we are in good company. And this is a challenge we all have, right? How many of us have a surplus of time? Anyone has extra time? No. We all wish we could have 25 hours in a day. But guess what? If we had 25 hours in a day, guess what we would want? 26. So let us not wish for the impossible. Let us focus on what we can actually achieve. So you were showing me the river yesterday. I'll use this example. If you are standing in two boats, one foot is in one boat, another foot is in the other boat, where are you most likely to end up? In the cold water. You're going to fall in the water, right? So this is like trying to balance material life and spiritual life. I would like us all to throw away this idea. That is not the idea. Balancing material life and spiritual life is like balancing eating poison and eating prasad. Do I balance that? No. I just take prasad. So how does this practically mean? So we're going to throw away this idea of balance. And what we are going to do is attach to this idea that I am in one boat. And this boat is going to Golok Vrindavan. But on this boat, I am not alone. I have my family on me. I also have my job. I have my relationships in society. I have my other responsibilities. They're all on this boat. Now on this boat, I want to make sure that my job doesn't become so heavy that it capsizes the boat. Right? My attachments to society should not become so unbreakable that the boat cannot move forward. So my process of spiritual life is to figure out how to get everything to work together on this boat, but not losing sight of where I'm going. I'm going to Golok Vrindavan. So spiritual life is about understanding how to transform my activities from material activities into spiritual activities. The activities don't change. Again, was Prahlad Maharaj doing economic development? Yes. Did he have a job?
Yes.
Big job or small job?
Big job.
Did he have family?
He has
Small family or big family?
big.
Family.
Did he have societal responsibilities?
He has
And he is a Mahajan.
one of the 12 Maharajas.
One of 12 Mahajans. So how he did it? It's not about balance. Again, when you think of balance, think poison prasad. I don't balance. No. That everything we should do, we do in a service to Krishna. Everything. I'm doing my job. Okay? I'm going to the office. Again, not going in dhoti kurta, banging on a mridanga, because that's not my job. I wish it was. But it's not. So my job is software engineer, doctor, lawyer, businessman, factory worker, whatever my job is. I'm doing it as a service to Krishna. How do I do it as a service to Krishna? Not just saying I'm doing it as a service to Krishna. But when the paycheck comes, I know who generated that paycheck. Not me. It is by the blessings of the Lord. By the facilities of the Supreme Lord. We came into this world with nothing. And we are leaving this world with
Nothing.
so how we can claim anything between point A and point B is ours? It's not. We are borrowing the Lord's resources. He tells us, Ishvasya midam sarvam yat kincha jagat jayam tena tatena bunjita hamad gadaha pashisudana. That everything we're using, it is given by Krishna and we have our quota. So whatever fruits I'm so-called manufacturing in the office, I should know. I am not the proprietor. Krishna has given me some capability. I'll use it. So when those fruits come, the paycheck come, it doesn't mean I tear it up and put it in a wastebasket. That's not practical. It also is not practical that the paycheck comes and I put the whole thing in a hundi. That's also not practical. But what is practical? That I maintain myself to some minimum standard needed. But if I have a home, you have a home. Whose home is it?
Krishna's home. I have to say that.
Krishna's home. We don't stay in the master bedroom. We stay in the servant bedroom. Change this term. And if you want it, put a sign over your door. I am in the servant bedroom. Because this is not my house. This is Krishna's house. He has enabled it. I still live in a house. Just like your neighbor. But one is living in completely different consciousness. I have children. They're not my children. I am the temporary custodians for them. Whose children are there? Aham vijaha pradaha pita. Who is the pita? Krishna. I have this great responsibility to take care of Krishna's children. So I have to make sure they get connected back to their Supreme Father and Mother. So, in this idea of balance is not balance. It's that my purpose in work, my purpose in home, my purpose in family is all dovetailed into serving Krishna. So it doesn't mean serving Krishna doesn't mean that I leave my job. Guess what? That's what Arjuna wanted to do. And Krishna said, shh, come back. Because Arjuna wanted to go to the forest. He said, I'll live as a beggar. And Krishna said, no, you do your duty. But you do so detached from the fruits. Give up this false sense of proprietorship. So if we approach all our activities, so what is a material activity? It is a sense of proprietorship. What is a spiritual activity? It is a knowing who is the real proprietor. The actual actions are the same, but the results are very different. Remember, Duryodhan shooting arrows and Arjuna shooting arrows. Same result? No. One is shooting arrows on the order of Krishna, bhakti. The other is shooting arrows on the orders of his mind, sin. So when we go to the office, when we manage our family, manage our home, when we have this sense of who is the real doer, and we perform those activities in that way, then everything becomes spiritual activity. And the idea becomes, well, if I'm not the proprietor, then I'll become lazy. Why I should do? And that's why Krishna says, Vigata Jvara. He says, you fight without lethargy. Don't think because you are not the doer, then you should just sit back. Why? Because we should understand Krishna has blessed us with some amazing capabilities. Whatever ability we have, we should value and cherish it as a blessing from Krishna. And we should use it to the fullest extent for His service. If I don't use it, it's nothing different than when we tell our kids, don't waste the gift you've been given. Do we become happy? So the devotee is enthusiastic to work in the office, enthusiastic to maintain family life, enthusiastic to maintain homes, all that as a service to Krishna. Just as Prahlad Maharaj did not want to become king. He was a pure devotee of Lord. He did not want, but he took to that service as a service. So in material life, we're going to renounce our sense of proprietorship, and everything will make spiritual. Of course, there are some practical realities now I'll come to, which is that we should maintain our work life in a way that our sadhana remains strong. What is our sadhana? Our daily practice. Our daily chanting, reading, service, that we should maintain very strictly. And not let anything interrupt. We should not over-endeavor in our work and our job. Say, I'm working for Krishna, but actually working for our own ego. No. We should work in a way that is sufficient to maintain our family, to take advantage of whatever ability we have, but not to the point where it interferes with our sadhana. Our sadhana, we should put a moat around it, protect it, cherish it. And if we do, then the spiritual life will manifest very quickly for us. If we have been practicing Krishna Kana, I know we have some folks coming in different time of practice. If we have been practicing for some time and we're not yet feeling that rasa, look to our sadhana. Look to our chanting. How attentive, how sincere is my chanting? How much am I reading Srila Prabhupada's books? This will help us gauge how I can put more. Just like if I'm going to the gym and the body is not becoming fit, the gym is not broken. My application of it, something is Mr. Right. So adjust. And that's why we get an association, accept a formal spiritual master who can guide us in the process. Sorry, long answer to your question.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
I promise the next answer won't be so long.
So then I have
Yes.
one more question, Prabhu.
Yes.
So from what you said, if Krishna conscious is the ultimate happiness, what is broken that this message was not told to us?
It was told to us, it is being told to us, because Krishna is sitting in our heart as Paramatma. But we have told Krishna, shh, I'm good. Let me try to eat the fruits of the material world. So even eating the fruits, And Krishna's just waiting. But why we're all gathered here today? Why we're all here? You all think, oh, because someone invited. No. Because Chaitanya Guru in our heart has understood some desire from us, even if it's very subtle, to come to the path of real success in life. And so he has facilitated the opportunity for us to come and hear this knowledge. It is a great fortune. But if we don't take advantage of that, who knows when again we'll come across this bona fide information. So that's the concept.
Thanks.
There's one question I have is that in ISKCON normally I've seen a lot of programs for youths.
Youth.
Yeah. But I've not come across any programs for the Grihasthas. So what do you suggest through ISKCON how we can get associated with a more structured program?
Yeah.
Like for youths there are a lot of programs but not for Grihasthas.
I was discussing with Prabhuji. So where I come from in Detroit, we have the opposite. We have like full Grihastha programs, but we don't have such good youth preaching and programs. So, that's nice. So we can learn from each other. I'm learning. I really enjoyed yesterday going to the Harinam and seeing all these wonderful youth organized, and it was really inspiring to me actually. I was really touched by it. So we are missing that. But, Grihastha preaching, the best use of Grihastha preaching, actually it's a perfect question, because this was established by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a Grihastha. I'll talk about him a little bit this evening, but I have short time this evening, so maybe if you tolerate just a few minutes on it. So he was a Grihastha, with a very successful job and huge service he performed. But one of the things that he established was his Namahatta program. This Namahatta program was basically engaging Grihasthas in spiritual life. Because in those days too, it was more believed that, the spiritual life was for the sannyasis, those living full time in the temple. And so he created these Namahatta programs. And that started, and now we have also, through ISKCON preaching ministry, and Jayapataka Maharaj has really championed this whole Bhakti Vriksha format, where we have home programs where Grihasthas get together, they read Bhagavad Gita, they have a little kirtan, some prasadam, do some service together, and cultivate this family practice of spiritual life. And so, many communities have this successful program going where they have, many groups around their temple. And so it's a nice way to give association in a structured format, specifically for Grihasthas. It's like this, but there are other programs. But it's important because anyone finds Grihastha life easy? Grihastha life is full of waves in the ocean. Right? As soon as you cross one wave, another one is behind you. Right? So Grihastha life is...
Tsunamis sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes tsunami. But we can get a nice surfboard and ride those waves very happily. Because Grihastha life is very potent for spiritual progress. Having a partner in life that you can work with, having family to, keep you reined in. It's a great opportunity.
Any mentorship programs in Detroit can be done online or something like that?
We don't have any formal programs, but we do have some online programs that we do. Let me think about that a little bit. Sure. But yeah, like I said, that is one way to do. But it's an opportunity, and Grihastha's main thing in Grihastha's responsibility is to support the local temple. Right. So in our Varnashram Dharma, right, both Grihasthas and the Vaishyas, they are the supporters of the whole rest of society. So it is our responsibility to go and serve in the temple, maintain the programs. Srila Prabhupada wanted actually all the deity worship also should be done by Grihasthas. We should support financially the temple locally, right? We are earning income. When I earn income and I make some donation to the temple, we think, I'm doing some favor for Krishna. Remember, Krishna is self-sufficient. Trust me, if we don't give chapatis today, he'll still eat. but it is our opportunity to surrender some of the fruits of our work to Krishna. So we are the beneficiaries. How do I spiritualize my work? When I give some of the fruits of my hard-earned labor to the Lord. So I may not be able to go and practically serve in the temple every day. What you can do, these many temples now do these monthly donation programs, where every day, every month we donate, and some portion of all the bhoga offerings, all the artis, all the flowers for the flower, all that is coming from our support, and so we get the benefit of that. So these are important ways that the grahastas can support. So our responsibilities are to maintain the temple, maintain the if we can develop a brahmachari community, support the brahmachari who can go out and do a lot of the preaching that needs to be done. So it's a teamwork opportunity. It's a big topic. So some few ideas.
Thank you.
Anything else? Prabhuji, Mataji, anything I misspoke, please correct. Thank you. Anything done? Thank you. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.